Thank you. I'd love to give the stage to Jeannie to say a few words on behalf of her and Alice. Come. Yeah. We are yours. Mm-hmm.
Thank you all for being here this morning to say farewell to Dad. His battle was sudden and short, but in his typically organized style, he left us as peacefully as possible for cancer, lucid and funny till the end. We are so very grateful for all the love and support we have received from our friends, Dad's esteemed colleagues, and the community these last few months. Actually, a few of you have very sweetly thanked us for sharing Dad with Hamilton all these years. Truthfully though, I don't think Mum and I fully realized just how generous we've been until now. Dad loved this city, and he genuinely wanted to help her people, to help us all come together and to love this place we call home as much as he did. Most of you know the kind of man he was at work, dedicated and persistent, always giving 110% in everything he set his mind to. Well, today, I get the great honor of telling you what he was like at home, giving 150% as a father and at least 200% as a husband. Seriously, he could do everything. But as the expression goes, behind every great man, there's a great woman. Because Mum was so good at keeping the household, the finances, and, well, me in order, Dad was able to run wild through all the events of Hamilton and hammer away at every piece of 2x4 he could get his hands on. And I guess here would be a good segue into story time. So let's start with how Dad got Mum. As it turns out, my old man had game. Mum and Dad met during their tourism course in 1979. In Hong Kong, the majority of people take public transport to get anywhere, and both Mum and Dad used to take the bus to get to school. But the two of them lived on different islands. So when they started to get to know each other, Dad would get up extra early in the morning to especially take a bus from his house to a bus stop where he knew Mum's bus route would go past. He'd then peek over all the windows of the possible buses until he spotted Mum, at which point he'd pop on the bus to talk to her, all nonchalant, like he was meant to be there. By the time Mum figured out that he should really be taking another, much quicker route to school, too late, already charmed. Dad was interested in cameras and photography way back when he was a teenager. Just as he enjoyed using his camera at the events he attended. You betcha he used his skills to woo Mum. making sure he had his totally in-fashion, soft-focus lens filter on the camera. He would take Mum all over the parks and scenic spots of Hong Kong to practice his portrait-taking skills, with Mum as his perfect subject. So smooth. As a result, we now have albums full of soft-focus photos of the two of them in the cupboard. I scanned a few for your viewing pleasure. See if you can spot them on the slideshow. Enjoy. As some of you have also experienced, uprooting a family completely and immigrating to New Zealand is a monumental and difficult decision. With language and cultural barriers, finding stable work during the first few years was definitely a lot of trial and error for Dad. From being a real estate agent to owning a fish and chip shop and to becoming a translator before he finally landed his position in the council. But through it all, he held onto an infallible belief that as long as we were willing to make some sacrifices, and that if we truly wanted to integrate, to be real Kiwis, we would make it. And boy, did he get into it. For the first time in his life, he had a garage and a garden with a barbecue to play with. We were fortunate enough to have had the best neighbors with our first home. The Smith family really took us under their wing and showed us how to be quintessential Kiwis. From teaching us which mighty river is the longest in New Zealand, to how to attend to our lawns, build our fences and decks, and most notably, even how to reattach one's wife's front bumper back onto her car. They were also the ones that got Dad hooked on project managing his own house builds, or as Mum calls them, his big toys. And that's where Dad really got to create his masterpiece backyards, do all of the designing, woodwork, tiling, shelving, to his handyman's heart's content. During one of Dad's first Kiwi DIY lessons, Uncle Harry asked him to bring out all of his tools so they can start on the fence together. So Dad whipped out this tiny hammer, the only one that he brought with him from Hong Kong, fully intending to use it. Its head is soft metal and barely bigger than a fencing nail. Uncle Harry took one look at it and was like, "What is that supposed to be?" "Oh, no. We'll be upgrading to a big hammer by the end of this." We still remember hearing Uncle Harry say to Dad, "What is this? Ding, ding, ding. Use your wrist." Dad's DIY skills have definitely come a long, long way in 20 years. Dad was, of course, almost a Superman kind of father. He was tall, strong, and could figure out anything. But he was never as gentle with me as he was with Mum, and rightly so. He wanted me to be tougher, more independent, and ready for the realities of this world. And yet, there were definitely times he showed his soft side. When we first arrived in New Zealand, I lost many of my favorite Asian things, like junk food, comics, toys. But one of the most painful losses was definitely my Sailor Moon. It was a Japanese cartoon that aired in the 90s, adored and addictive to masses of little Asian girls. So when New Zealand finally aired an English-dubbed version of the show, Dad took pity on me. Of course, getting up early in the morning really wasn't my thing. So he used to sit down in front of the TV with his breakfast at 7 a.m. every morning and tape the episodes for me. He would even pause the recording when each commercial started and then record again when the commercials ended, which meant he had to watch every minute of the show carefully, and he couldn't even take bathroom breaks. The moral of the story is that he was a ridiculously devoted father to an obviously spoiled princess. But most importantly, yes, Councillor Philip Yeung indeed watched every single super girly episode of Sailor Moon that was ever aired on New Zealand television. He even digitized them for me a decade later, just so I can watch them for the rest of my life. Dad took to fatherhood like he did with all things. Give everything a good go. He was generally a firm believer in the saying, if at first you don't succeed, try again. until you cut your daughter's ear while trying to give her a mushroom haircut, then you don't try again. Or the first time you take your daughter out for a driving lesson and she backs over the neighbor's sapling. Well, that's okay, no one noticed, so you try again, until you decide to guide her to 5 crossroads and accidentally push a gear stick into neutral in the middle of the busiest roundabout in the city and almost get yourself killed. Then you don't try again. And you pay for her driving lessons because you're smart. In fact, Dad most certainly had street smarts. He always managed to get me into the schools that we believed I would thrive in. This unintentionally included 4 Christian schools. But I've never been baptized, so how did I get in? Somehow, through a combination of always being in the right place at the right time and turning on his full, responsible, fatherly charms on at interviews, he always managed to swing luck my way. Growing up with stable, ever-present parents influenced many of my decisions as an adult. Always having that safety net, knowing that whatever shenanigans I cooked up, rescue was only ever a phone call away, regardless of where I was in the world. And Dad handled those phone calls so well. He always seemed to know what to do. Like with the age-old, Dad, someone backed into my car, what do I do? Or one of my favorites, Dad, I gotta move from Wellington to Budapest in 2 weeks. Help? That little shocker meant he had to do a 15-hour round trip down to Wellington to bring up all my furniture to Hamilton in 1 day. I'll be honest, realizing that from now on I have to deal with all these kinds of things myself is a little daunting. But he really was the best dad and role model a girl could hope for. And I know he's left me with all the tools and lessons I need to live a happy and fulfilling life as he did. The house is quiet without him, and we seem to be late a lot more without him telling us to move it at all the right times. We miss him deeply, but his memory, sense of humor, warmth, and strength will live on in all of us, always. P.S. Just wanted to share that the ending song of the service is from a Hong Kong movie about a legendary kung fu master. It is also Dad's favorite shower karaoke song. And because it's such an epic song, he used to belt it out at the top of his lungs and be heard throughout the entire house. Figured it is the most appropriate song to send him off with. Thank you.
That's awesome. So good. I'd love to invite Deputy Mayor Martin to come and speak on behalf of our council and the city. So, thank you, Councillor.
And you'll notice that Andy has put a timer on me, and it is the standing orders of the City Council of 5 minutes. And how on earth do you capture a relationship and a life of the wonderful Philip Yeung in 5 minutes? I'm going to stick to notes, unusually for me personally, because if I don't stick to notes, I will probably lose it. Because obviously today is a day when, for us as colleagues, as friends, the reality suddenly really hits you. I want to say that I have the very personal honour to represent Mayor Andrew, who is accompanying Alice and Jeannie today. And I also want to acknowledge the presence, as I understand is coming, the Dame Susan Devoy. And my role today is to represent councillors past and present. On behalf of the city, I also want to acknowledge current MPs and former MPs and members from diplomatic missions, and also want to specifically acknowledge our former mayor's presence, and I have certainly cited our immediate past mayor, Julie Hardacre, and our immediate past deputy mayor, Gordon Chesterman, and we welcome them to join with us all. I also want to attempt, although I think Andy's helped a bit, to represent the hundreds of our staff team who over the years have come into contact with Philip. And as I said, how on earth do you condense a wonderful life into 5 minutes? And I'm sure actually each of my colleagues would probably have a different take on Philip, but I think they would have in common much of their admiration. I've known Philip for many years, working alongside him in the community, a trustee and active participant in Community Radio FM, as a JP, where he, as a JP, would mentor new JPs and do a huge amount of work among what we term our ethnic community. I've seen him with massive energy organise such amazing events as the New Zealand Indigo Festival, New Zealand Ethnic Football Tournament. But I want to reflect, if I may, on his journey with Alice and Jeannie when they first arrived here from Hong Kong in 1996. I have, in the last few days, tried to imagine them arriving for the first time at Auckland International Airport, being processed in a long queue of people through customs and immigration, and a whole life and identity that they had in Hong Kong left behind them, and probably at that point known in Hamilton by a very, very few people. And I'll come back to that because I remember him obviously as a colleague, as a councillor, worked with me on the community forum, worked with Paula on the Community Services Committee as Deputy Chair. Those were his official roles. And it's fair to say, and I say this absolutely, and I'm ignoring that time for 1 minute. Bear with me, Andy, please. No elected member, and I apologise to my council colleagues, in my view, worked harder than Philip. And as you know, as has been detailed in his life, when he first arrived here, he had a number of roles as a new immigrant, as a new arrival, real estate agent, worked in a fish and chip shop, and then the journey began as an interpreter with his fluency in English, Cantonese, Mandarin, and then from that he became an ESL home tutor. And then, of course, in 2001, he came and joined us as an ethnic community advisor. And I like to think, in fact I know, he never ever left that previous role. Even when he was elected to council, he just merged the council a bit into his previous role. And often we'd be going up in the lift and I'd assumed he'd be coming up to his new office on the top floor, floor 9, and then suddenly he would pop out lower down. I said, "Where are you going?" He says, "I'm going to my other office." So I think he was totally confused as to where he worked. And it was a bit like, you know, that he was automatically programmed going to floor 4, wherever. And he didn't distinguish the two roles, because every weekend he would be at some event, some significant event with our diverse and ethnic community. And my favourite deal with Philip, and this is the personal thing because I get the privilege because I'm up here, he would come and collect me and take me to many of those events. And he would tell me at exactly what time. He would turn up in his daughter's sports car when she was overseas. He loved that sports car. We would know what time when to arrive and when to speak. And today, that's just a snippet of this amazing man. An amazing man who, we think back to 1996, first arrived in a queue, anonymous, one of the many, just a face at the airport. And now 21 years later, look around us, the Philip Yeung legacy, I call it. How did a man with the huge support and sacrifice of his dear wife and daughter make such an impact in the 21 years that he was with us in Hamilton? And I'll just quickly try and summarise. Stay away, Andy. He was a giver. The glass for Philip was never half empty, it was always half full. And he personified what we as a city and society can be, celebrating our rich diversity and celebrating each other. His legacy, as his wonderful daughter says, will live on all of us, and he gives us that challenge to make this city and this society a more diverse, a more understanding, celebrate each other by our difference. But on behalf of the Council, I just want to say thank you so much, and all of us share in our hearts. Philip's no longer with us, but he is with us, obviously. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa.
Thank you, Councillor. It's, very good. I'd love to invite the Honourable David to come and speak as part of our central government partners.
Tēnā koutou katoa, dashi hao. We all know now that the rules are that you only have 5 minutes and the countdown's on, so I'd just like to echo a lot of what has been said today, but first of all to acknowledge Alice and Jenny. Your family has given so much to the city, and you can be so proud of your father and your husband. He was a wonderful man, and the people here today, ex-councillors, mayors, politicians, community leaders, and people that have been touched by him are here to support you and to remember his great contribution to this city. My role is to talk about it from sort of a national perspective of where Philip delivered for our country and our city going forward. And we see so many people here representing different parts of our community that come together, and that really shows the strength of his achievements. Because he was a man that put himself ahead of everything else, and he really enjoyed serving others. He was there for our people, and he always had a wonderful smile and made a big difference to our city, and we remember that today. My first encounters with him were as the ethnic communities officer in the city, and he was always such a humble person that would attend every event, and his workload was amazing. And we all have seen him at various events over many years, and this year we particularly missed his presence as he was battling cancer. But maybe it was that sheer determination and drive that people really related to and found his strength. Or maybe it was just that he was able to connect with every community and understand their wishes. But I think it was actually his gentle, personal nature where he was there and really loved the people of Hamilton. And he had a vision for this city and made that happen. He embodied all the qualities of a leader. He was committed, he was compassionate, and he was selfless in his contribution. Everybody could rely on him as a representative in our community. He was so friendly and smiling and always there and always happy, and took pride in his work and wanted to be measured by being seen as what he did, not by what he said. Philip helped us learn about ourselves and about our community. He had the ability to bring the community along with him, and he saw things like the ethnic soccer tournament as a way of making us learn from each other. From a central government point of view, that can't be understated. New Zealand is a country of new migrants coming and making their home here, and we have opportunities for everybody. And Philip showed that you can achieve whatever you want in this country. And that's an extremely valuable role for our country going forward, because we need that greater representation and understanding, and Philip delivered that. So he has been influential, not just in the Hamilton scene, but nationally as well. As being the first ethnic Chinese member of our council, that is a really important leadership role throughout our country, and we thank him for that service and leadership. There is a Chinese proverb that says, "Jian ren bo zhong, ho ren shu." Each generation will reap what the former generation has sown. Philip truly bridged that gap between government and our people. He was there to actually show what a vibrant and diverse city could become. And the harmonious nature that we see in Hamilton today is a huge part and tribute to his work and success. That's the legacy that he will leave for our city going forward. Future generations will reap the rewards of his work. Philip had a strong sense of style as well. He was always dressed immaculately and came along to events in his blazer and black dress short, trousers, and was always part of the style of any event and spoke with such enthusiasm and reinforced the value of a community. And it's the first face many Hamiltonians would have seen when they came to the city was Philip Yeung. I want to also pay special tribute to Alice and Jenny. Tim McIndoe, who my colleague can't be here today as well, wanted to also pass on his regards to you both and to everybody here. When we look at the events he turned up to, he's so proud to have you there, Jenny, taking photos and just enjoying it and getting involved. And Alice, you were both a partnership together at many events, and a memory everybody will share will be seeing you two both smiling at the front row at some event, and that shows your true dedication and his service to the city. So thank you to you both for that. Coming to New Zealand from Hong Kong, Philip knew the struggles of a new migrant, and he overcame these and showed leadership in our city. That's a hugely influential role going forward. He showed we can all work together and achieve more. He proved himself to be an extraordinary servant of Hamilton, and his role for future generations to come will be remembered by all here gathered today. We were lucky to be part of that man and his time as a gentle, kind, happy, and committed leader and friend that left his mark on our city and our country. Thank you, Alice and Jenny.
Thank you, David. I'd love to invite the Hamilton Cook Island Association to come up on stage and do a quick presentation in sense of both the Cook Island National Anthem and Kia Rana.
Te atua moe, ko koerai te pu, ko te paenu ae. Akarongo mai, I tō mato nei reo, e ka piki a tūne.
That's awesome. Thank you. We know Philip loved you guys lots and loved so many of us so generously. Thank you. I'd love to invite Daryl and Sharon to come and speak on a tough gig, really, on behalf of friends and neighbours. And thanks, Daryl.
Good morning, all. It's quite a privilege to have been asked to speak on behalf of Jenny and Alison and Philip on this occasion when we celebrate his life. I first met Philip some 21 years ago. Obviously, it's been said that he immigrated with the family to New Zealand. They moved in next door to my parents. My father had immigrated to New Zealand himself, and the two of them struck off quite a friendship. And as has been alluded to, he spent a lot of time over the fence with his hammer mowing lawns, and it wasn't until I actually spoke to this gentleman that I established that, or understood where he'd come from and the things that I took for granted, the mowing of a lawn, the building of a fence, the firing up of a barbecue, that I realised that the significant changes that he had made and what he'd given up to come here, but what he wanted to achieve when he was here. His determination to embrace the Kiwi lifestyle was infectious, and it was quite humbling to see the way in which he undertook things that I found quite simple and quite easy in my life that he had never seen or done before. And it wasn't long before his garage became full of power tools, lights, you name it, he bought it just so that he could contribute and do the things that he wanted to do. And as we moved on, he went from mowing a small patch of lawn to developing beautiful houses across the city, to building fantastic fences, to making immaculate lawns, something he was very proud of, a home for his family to live in. It was very interesting that shortly after, within a year of them moving in to our neighbourhood, that my parents moved out. But that relationship was so strong that we have developed into a great extended family, I guess, such that my children refer to Alice and Jenny as their uncle and their aunt, a title that Jenny infers upon my wife and I. We greatly admire Philip for what he's done. It's been alluded to that he came from Hong Kong to New Zealand, and there were some struggles. It's been mentioned he had difficulty finding work. He had to buy his own business to ensure that he could provide for his family. He went into real estate, like a lot of people, and then got out of it. But his move to the ethnic coordinator role was what saw him really start his career. He absolutely loved it. He committed to it. The time and energy he put in was relentless. I remember when he told me he was going to apply for councillor, I sort of looked at him and was like, why? Why do you want to be a councillor? And this was his way of advancing what he had done in that ethnic role. He could see the opportunity to advance what he had done and improve a lot for the ethnic community. It was a significant, I think, move when I look at the number of us, and I'll talk about me with this, that don't necessarily contribute to our community anywhere near as much as this Chinese immigrant did, who had arrived as our neighbour some 20 years before. Everything Philip did, he excelled at. He became part of our family. He made time for everything. He turned up to my children's birthdays, to their events, to their dance events, to their sporting events, to whatever we were doing. But he always made the time, or always would say, I've got to be somewhere else, whether it be at a civic event, whether it be something for his family or whatever he was doing or what he had planned. I mean, the ceremony today certainly is here to honour Philip, and it's certainly something he deserves, but he's a very humble man and not something that I think he would take lightly. I'm sure that looking down on us, he's very proud of it, but if you tried to acknowledge the work that he had done, he would arguably fob us off or divert the attention away from himself to something else. He always wanted to fit in. He always tried best. He put himself out into the community to be one of us. He liked nothing better than to turn up at home with the barbecue on and have a quiet beer, and if Ella wasn't looking, sneak a sneaky second. Away from the public eye, Philip always made time for his family, and it's attributable to him, to the effort that he put in, such that his family have done so well, his daughter has achieved so well through his efforts, but he was able to give so much in such a short time. I recall I started a demolition project at home earlier this year, Philip, first through the door, first through the gate, swinging his hammer ready to go, but I've got to go at 2:30 because I've got a civic event to attend. He just gave his time willingly. When we first heard of his illness, there was nothing to indicate, nothing that I saw. I was speaking to him 2 weeks before. He was still working for the community, still working hard, and the only thing that slowed him down was his illness. Looking back at a shy, unassuming man who moved in next door some 21 years ago, it's an absolute credit and a testament to Philip's compassion and his determination to make a difference to our community and to our city, a true Hamiltonian. Today, Hamilton has lost a great champion. We have lost a wonderful friend and a great member of our family. Thank you.
Thank you, Darryl. I'd love to invite Uncle Martin up to come and speak on behalf of the wider family.
I have the privilege to get to know Philip, Alice, and Ginny back in 1999 when I first came to New Zealand. They were our first family friend, and yes, I can still remember when I first came to the Hamilton Central Shopping Center, where they have a fish and chips shop, and I like their fish and chips. It's great. And Philip, even so enthusiastic that he took us to his kitchen, showed us the quality oil and the fish they use to fry the delicious meal. I'm really impressed. And well, their warmth and welcoming attitude really drew us to their family. And they are so helpful and always eager to help, to give us support. I can remember once when we have friends coming over from Hong Kong, we don't have time to be with them, and Philip even offered to be a tourist guide for our visitors from Hong Kong. It really touched me. Yes, our relationship just go on from that time, and we have a lot of fun together. Whenever we have gatherings among families from Hong Kong, he always brings something good, yummy to share with us. Sometimes really special, sometimes delicious. And he is one of the best karaoke singers among us. He's also a great DJ to keep the night going. Excellent. And one more interesting thing, he has a very special skill. He can use a rubber band to shoot flies, really accurate. He showed off to my son, and my son trying to taught my son how to pick up his skill and do it the same. Excellent. We share a lot of fun time together. He's a great man, and I'm sure we will miss him a lot. It's very hard to say goodbye, and I know we don't want to, but we have to accept this reality. Within the limited time he had, he lived to the fullest and touched so many people's lives so positively. There's a lot we can learn from him. I hope we'll meet him again in heaven.
Thank you, Martin. Diamond, would you like to come on behalf of the Chinese Golden Age Society and share some words?
I, on behalf of Hamilton Chinese Golden Age Society, express our sorrowful mourning to our beloved friend, Philip Yeung. When we first heard his passing, we really could hardly believe it would be true. We all fell in deep sorrow. Lots of our members expressed their condolences in our WeChat circle. All what they said are from the bottom of their hearts. Here I selected two. A lady aged over 80 said, now I speak Chinese, 今闻菲利普杨不幸病逝，深表沉痛的哀悼，对其亲属表示亲切慰问。杨先生是晚晴的恩人，为晚晴做出了非凡的贡献，我们永远记得他。杨先生在重病中仍然牵挂着晚晴，我们探望他时，他用微弱的声音询问：“晚晴选举了吗？会长是谁？现在的经济状况如何？”当他得知一切都好时，他开心地笑了，并连连地说：“我放心了，我放心了。”杨先生，我们再也牵不到你热情温暖的双手了，再也看不到您总是亲切微笑的脸，让我们悲痛欲绝。杨先生，你将永远留在我们的记忆中，永远记在我晚晴的史册。杨先生，天路遥远，一路走好。Another man aged 90 said, 杨先生，杨议员，菲利普杨，我们时常换着对你称呼，你是晚清人真敬而忠实的朋友，你对我们晚清的帮助有过太多的付出，我们都欣赏你的潇洒幽默，我们都敬佩你的多姿热络，无论是民族事务官或是市议员的任上，你始终关心着我们晚清的脉搏。有你这样一位好朋友，我们会感到非常的踏实。有什么为难的事，总爱找你商量；有什么话，总爱找你说说。你知道，天知道一声霹雳刺穿了我的心坎。这么善良能干的一个人，却会被无故击落，如此残酷的现实，令人无法接受。我们惊疑老天爷有没有搞错？可是你确实走了，走得如此匆忙，如此急促。为什么世界如此之大，却留不住我们的好朋友菲利普杨？为什么科技如此发达，令你为天犯俗？我们怅然若失，我们不知所措。哈密尔顿河水在湾，我们痛哭失声，捶胸顿足。远行的老朋友，你一路走好。再回头再看看我们吧，晚晴活动中心大门口有这么多你关心的老人，在含泪远眺，在伤感中沉默。Philip Yeung, our beloved friend, we'll remember you forever.
Thank you, Diamond. Mano, would you come and on behalf of the many networks and relationships that you hold across the city?
My deepest sympathies to Alice and Janine. Kia ora. Good morning. My name is Manoharan. I'm here to speak on behalf of United Nations Association Waikato branch. Philip, I was one of the panel members to select Philip for the job at City Council as ethnic coordinator. That was about 15 or 16 years ago. And the other panel members are seated somewhere here. Philip came for the interview with 3 other applicants for there, and we selected Philip as a suitable person. And Philip had a big task of organizing the Indigo Festival soon after he was selected. There was a race unity day, marching from Grantham Street up to Founders Theatre, and the MC at the Founders Theatre for a cultural event was former Mayor Margaret Evans, and Philip was able to organize all that within a short period of taking over the job. Later on, he was appointed as Ethnic Development Officer. Those days, we had a settlers directory, which was sold by City Council for 10 cents. It had only 8 pages. Philip made a book of about 48 pages called New Settlers Directory. I told Philip, it's going to cost a lot. He said, no, I'm covering it with the advertisement from the advertisers, so it doesn't cost council a cent. Philip used to organize a listening forum for ethnic communities, and all the previous mayors, from Russ Remington, David Braithwaite, Michael Redmond, Bob Simcock, Julie Hardacre, all the mayors had attended these functions. None of the mayors had kept away from attending this and listening to the ethnic communities as what they need in Hamilton. Philip used to attend all the ethnic events after hours, as well as on Saturdays, Sundays. There's no time limit for him. He not only attends and shows his face and walks away, he sits there until the end, and he used to have a meal with all the communities there. And he didn't neglect his family. Sometimes he used to say to me that, Manu, I won't be here this weekend, I'm going to Wellington to pick my daughter. So he used to go to Wellington. And when he became ill and he was admitted to hospital, I had been there practically every day in the hospital during my lunch break. And there are days he used to say to me about his family and things like that. He used to talk to me when the family is not there. And there's 2 taps in Hamilton which is providing fluoride-free water, which was installed because he is the only councillor who voted against it. And previous mayor, Julie Hardacre, had installed 1 tap at the back of the Cloudlands, where the sports centre is, and the other one in Temple View area. I like to see that stone erected by the side of the tap with Philip's history. Audience will not long remember what I say here, but it can never forget what my dear Philip did for the community in Hamilton. Thank you.
Thank you, Manu. Patricia, you come in as our final speaker. I know that you're a dear friend from your role not only in the settlement centre but in all of the activities. So thank you.
Kia ora, everyone. Hola, Jenny, Alice. It's a privilege to be here talking to you. Sorry about my voice. I met Philip in 2006 when I was doing a work placement course at the Settlement Center. He was one of the guest speakers then, and he really touched me. When I listened to his story, sharing his story in settling in New Zealand, some feelings emerged in me, which was admiration. I can feel his energy, and I feel very positive. And obviously, also, a lot of laughs came out because he had a really, really nice sense of humor. Some of the things that stayed with me from his presentations were to hold on to my roots, be proud of my heritage, share my culture and my language, be a good citizen in New Zealand, and everything will be okay. To hear that was very uplifting for me then. It gave me the confidence to look for employment and start knocking doors. As you may know, I didn't have to knock too far, as when I finished the course, I started working at the Settlement Center. I was trying to understand then what Philip's role was at the council, but it became clear to me after I started working at the center, and that's when I learned into how much input he put into the interpreting services in 1999, and then to help establish the Hamilton Multicultural Services Trust in 2001 with the support of many other organizations. I started to see Philip more often at the center, as he would come to the meetings and gatherings at least 2 or 3 times a week. He used to say that that was his other office. He would meet with many stakeholders, government agencies, service providers, and many ethnic community representatives there. He was great at communicating and always took notes to pass on to council. He will walk from council to the center and back, always timing himself and always trying to make a new record. Patricia, I did certain minutes, 15 minutes. Tomorrow I'm gonna do 12. Philip always had a friendly manner, would give you a hand or two if you need it. He was a gentle and thoughtful man. He would treat everyone as equal and with respect, no matter what position, background, or ethnicity. He was humble and honest, with a caring heart, always thinking of others. He could relate to people easily, as he was a very good listener. He had a very compassionate heart. I was honored to have worked with Philip in many community events and projects. From 2008, we started working in the New Zealand Ethnic Football Festival, which was one of his babies, as he funded it and supported it from 1999. He enjoyed bringing people together, he liked to do things right, and he was very punctual. Another of his babies was the Indigo Festival, where he loved to work with ethnic communities organizing the parade on Victoria Street. That was the time when he called my baby the Indigo Child, as I gave birth to my son a week after the 2010 Indigo Festival. And it was really, one of the things that really stayed with me is that he will say, come to Uncle Philip, come to Uncle Philip. And that was for me very, very thoughtful, because not having family here in New Zealand, it really touched my heart. So I really brought him into my family, and I really care for him a lot. He had a special connection with the center, as he was the bridge between council and the ethnic organizations, and he helped a lot to obtain that building that used to be Mary's Rugby Club. He worked really hard alongside the settlement support coordinators, Lucy and Joby, and he was passionate about helping newcomers into Hamilton. He supported any community project that helped with the well-being of the refugee and ethnic communities. One of his biggest achievements at Manu Menchu was the New Shelters Directory. He also said the local settlement network meetings and the ethnic community and the ethnic listening forums. He was an innovator, always informed as to what was happening in the sector, prompt to listen to people's needs, and always thinking of new ways or ideas into how to support the communities and provide settlement information. I enjoy working with Philip because he loved talking to people face to face, having meaningful conversations. He was an expert in networking and mostly in developing good relationships, not only with the stakeholders and government agencies, but with people on the ground. And that was shown when Philip finally decided to run for councillor in 2013. I feel humble to stand before you representing the voices of many communities and sector agencies that Philip touched into their hearts. I know that there are great stories out there where Philip had to do something with it. His leadership and legacy has opened the path of many people to achieve their dreams and work together. When I saw Philip for the last time, I felt privileged sitting in front of him, sharing the photo album that held many memories and photos that the community shared. Few tears came into his eyes as he was touched to see the impact that he made to many people's lives while reading through some of the beautiful messages and seeing the photos that you sent. We said farewell and hugged, and hugged him, and he never took his eyes off us until we disappeared from the corridor, and for some reason I knew that that was going to be the last time I would see him. Alice and Jenny, thank you so much for sharing Philip with us. Your kindness, as you can see, it is shown here. It is felt here with all the love and respect that we have for Philip. Philip, you will always be in our hearts. Our most sincere condolences to you, Alice and Jenny. And I just want to say that when someone you love becomes a memory, the memory becomes a treasure. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks, Patricia. We're going to just have a final performance from one of Philip's favourite artists with one of his favourite pieces of music. Yeung couldn't be with us today, but he's filmed and is going to play two pieces. One is Philip's favourite, and the other is a piece that was written by Yeung's granddad. So please enjoy. Thank you for being able to come this morning. Thank you for taking the time to mark this moment. Encourage us all to stick around. There's going to be refreshments up on the top concourse, and gather with others and share stories and remember what it is that made Philip so special to us individually. And I do just want to acknowledge everyone who's spoken today for sharing insights and helping us all to see different bits of a man that we consider so significant to who we are, and it's been so important to us along our path and our journey. So thank you. Tame, would you be able to come and please close the formal part and bless the food? And then I'm going to invite, once Tame's finished, everyone to stand, and Alice and Jenny will come, and they'll exit first to Philip's favourite shower song, and then we'll all be able to go out and gather as well. Kia ora.
And I just want to endorse those words. I started off this morning talking about the different birds, and the birds had different sounds. Koe koe te tui, kete kete, te kākā, kuku, te kereru. And after that, you've just heard the different birds of different parts of the world that have come down to sing with tui, the kākā, the kereru. I'll shift from birds now to humans. E te atua kaharawa, koe nei mātou e huitahi nei I tēnei ata. And I'll shift to the birds of humans and close with a karakia from Aotearoa. E te atua kaharawa, nau ngā mea katoa I hanga mai te rangi heke mai nei ki te whenua. Korowai chia mātou I tēnei rangi, I tēnei ata I runga I tō aroha, ko koe te kaihanga o ngā mea katoa te iti me te rahi. Arahi mātou I runga I te tika me te pono, kia tutuki I ngā moe mai te rangi ki te whenua. Hui a mātou I roto I te whakaaro kotahi. Ai pupuru ki te ihi, te mana tawahi te tapu mai te rangi ki te whenua. Ko koe te kaihanga o ngā mea katoa. E te atua whakapaingia hoki ngā kai ai horahia I tēnei rangi, hei whangai I te tangata. Ko koe tau mātou piringa, ko koe tau mātou tokatū moana anei mātou e whakawheta i rungi te ingoa o tō mātou kai whakaora mo ake ake. Āmene. Tēnā koutou. Thank you.
Please, could we all stand as we Alice and Jeannie to leave first.